Good evening, everybody. Welcome on into the Nitro Realistic Racing League. I am your commentator for the F2 action this evening. My name is David. You can call me David, Davey Dave, or even Wingus. First and foremost, let's just go through your calendar so far. So tonight, we have a slightly crushed calendar. Hang on a moment. There you go. There's your sprint location. So obviously, tonight being in Silverstone will be in one of those locations. And, well, we're starting off at about 8 p.m. We are currently loading in for the qualifying session. I'll go through how that all works in just a second. But first and foremost, of course, round 2 in Silverstone tonight. And then, of course, we'll be having Barcelona next week, followed by Montreal and Spa with Zandvoort, Shanghai, and Monza. Concluding your 8 rounds, and of course all 8 locations will be used as a sprint weekend. So after round 1, let's have a look at our championship situation so far. It is McKellar taking the win in the sprint race, and of course the feature as well, starting from 3rd in the feature, who's leading the championship, with Sab Gaming in 2nd, Dan in 3rd, rounding out your top 3. Then on points level there is Anarchy, with Elfie rounding out the top 5 there. Now it's Sheldon, Anderson, Connor, Meldrum, and Psycho. Then followed by Ryan Brooks, Paul Codd, Big Bruiser, CJ, and then Jabe Jameson. Then it is Ethanol, the Chockster, Gavboy, and then Lutch, of course, not scoring any points so far. Into your team standings right now. It's Invicta leading with 41 points. Then it's VAR and Rodin with 35 and 32 points, rounding out your top 3. Then ART and Prima rounding out 4th and 5th. Then High Tech, MP, and Campos from 6th to 8th. Then the Dams, Trident, and AIX rounding out your 11 teams so far. Anyway, it's a one-shot qualifying here tonight in Silverstone. Currently leading the way is McKellar. Of course, no surprises there, taking a win in the sprint and the feature. Let me just check that the stream is up and running for years. It does appear to be. So here we go. We're watching McKellar come around the final couple of corners now, and he's going to complete his one-shot qualifying. And actually, it's Dan Lovett who found the top there, as Chucky was disqualified, as was Mr. Jabe there. So they will start from the back of the field there. So there we go. We will just go through your official results right now. But then it was Dan Lovett who actually took pole position there. So Dan now on top of things there, followed by McKellar and MCL85. Of course, we do have a few differences from 1 week to the last. And then it is Sab Gaming, Gavboy rounding out your top 5 with Anarchy, BT, Wiz, Sean, and then Finjo rounding out your top 10, followed by Daryl, Meldrum, RJ Batten, and Mr. Jabe, of course, with a disqualification. And Meldrum setting no time at all. We do have a few more drivers from there. It was Ryan Brooks, Nova Piper, and BFL Chucky who rounds out the rest of your disqualifications. So here we go. Of course, McKellar coming into the evening, leading the championship here. And we are certainly going to try and see, as now we are trying to load in for what will be a sprint race as of right now. So its sprint race will be obviously shorter than the feature race. So it's usually between like 10 or 12 laps as of right now. And then, of course, the feature race will be about 19-ish laps. But, of course, so your sprint race will be top 10 reversed. And then taking it from there. But we will be loading in a few minutes' time. I do think we are going to be under a bit of a delay here. I'm just going to find out what's going on. And then we'll obviously get underway again. Now, we are going to be just taking a couple of minutes here while we just wait for the guys to start. In fact, no, we're not going to be waiting at all. We've got 3, 4, 5 red lights. it's go for the sprint. And of course, with the top 10 reverse, that's Finjo on pole there. A lot of drivers getting it wrong. There's one on the grass there in the background as we are now on the way for lap 1. 11 laps to come here in the Silverstone circuit. One going wide there in the background. But now it is Finjo who has got into the lead of the race for now, but has to hold that for 11 laps here. As oh good, there's all sorts of chaos going on in the background there, and there's somebody who spun. That is, I believe, Dan Lovett, who was, of course, on pole for the qualifying, but of course that got reversed thanks to the sprint race order, so he falls all the way to the back. In the background there we have Sab and Sean going side by side with one another. Sean trying to go down the inside, but Sab came in, coming back through the outside as we go through the field. And now coming on to Woodcote, there's more action in the background as MCL is now in 6th place there, overtaking Gavboy. And at the moment now, side-by-side action is happening between a couple of drivers here. RJ Batten and Michaela going side-by-side there. Who is that off the field? I think that was RJ Batten there. As there's more swapping in the background. Anarchy up to 2nd there. It looks like as Jokies, or Wiz there, has lost a position, losing 2nd place there. And now Finjo under all sorts of pressure to try and get back into this. So now Jerk's going try him down the outside there, but he didn't quite get the move done. And Daryl there as well, of course, from SSRL fame, way back when, is now up in 10th, and he's in his first race. It's been a long time since I've seen him, as now we have Ryan Brooks down the inside there, and he's got that move done on Belgium, as, oh, Sean has made a mistake there through the final couple of corners. And we'll see how that goes. But there you go. Gavboy up into 5th place there. Down the inside into Abbey Corner. Gets the move done. And then RJ Batten as well makes the move down the inside of not one but 2 cars in a couple of corners. But goes very wide. Going in to Village. And now he'll try and keep the position for Aintree. But now Ryan Brooks has also made a move on Daryl. He's now up into 9th, and we'll have DRS opening. And now look at this. There's more side-by-side action between Anarchy and Jokes. This is for 2nd place. Where do you look on the track when there's this much action happening? We are being spoiled here as Belgium gets a 3-second penalty for track limit violations. And now he will have to serve that post-race. You can't serve that in the pit lane, but don't expect for any pit stops to be served right here, right now. There's being squeezed, and that is Anarchy squeezing as we go through. I think it's Cop's Corner to the grass there. And, well, Jokes had to give that up there. And look at that. Fincho's been allowed to get away by 2 seconds all of a sudden. That's what happens when you fight each other too hard. Try and work with one another to some degree. Remember, you can use the DRS. The leader doesn't have it. And I don't think Anarchy should really be fighting this too hard, as now we have BT there getting a 3-second penalty for track limit violations. And here we go now. Jokes to the outside again. Anarchy is not afraid to squeeze. There's a bit of wheel banging between them, and that might allow a run for Sab to get back into this here. But going through the final few corners as all, there is a big mistake there from Sab, losing the rear end of the car. But at the moment, keeping it all together, as now RJ Batten looks like he had got a position out of that ahead of Gavboy now, who's down to 6th place. And now there's also been some swapping in the background. I think Sean and Mr. J-Bar exchanging positions, and through the final corner as well. You don't see that all too often, but now that is all said and done, as now there's more action happening up ahead with Ryan Brooks and McKellar. Oh no, there's a big spin. Somebody's reset the track as well, and Ryan Brooks is now side by side with Daryl again. And Daryl having to, you can't go through the outside through there into a tree. That's not going to happen. And, well, has to give that up. Daryl still residing in 9th place, but of course his spin there for one of the drivers. I think that was MCL, but don't quote me on that. Certainly one of them reset to track. And we will, of course, keep an eye out who that was. But at the moment now, it looks like things are starting to separate here in this top 5 battle. I'll continue looking at Ryan Brooks because he's putting the championship leader under pressure. Of course, took the win in the sprint and the feature last week. Ryan Brooks had a very miserable time as RJ Batten gets a 3-second penalty for track limit violations there on lap 3 out of 11. We have seen 3 drivers in total fall for those track limits, and unfortunately, that is not going to be optimal. And now Ryan Brooks is going to be opening DRS here as he now is going to approach the inside line, maybe going into the next corner from the straight, and he goes down the inside. McKellar, easy as you like. Does he hold that inside line? He indeed does. There you go. Meldrum and Chucky as well in battling for 13th in the background there. That looks to be an entertaining fight. And well, yeah, though, that is all said and done. BFR Chucky there. Definitely getting the move done as Sab Gaming there takes the fastest lap of the race at 140.6. But at the moment as well, one thing to keep an eye on, while Sab's getting fastest lap, Anarchy has got that gap down to underneath a second here. And he will be within DRS range going on to the next zone. I don't think he was close enough to get DRS that time around. Indeed, he was not. So there's been more battling. I think Ryan Brooks has had an error. He has. And he's spinning, coming onto the exit of entry. And that looks to be like well, any good result for Ryan is all but said and done. 8 laps to go, of course. Resets the track, but he is out of position there. So that is unfortunate for the British driver. But Anarchy sticking with the leader for the time being as BT and Meldrum. Oh no, there's contact between them. Somebody was trying to rejoin. I think that is Sean there trying to rejoin. And that is going through Brooklands into Lovefield, now through Woodcote. And yeah, no, Sean having a bit of an error there. Yeah, he's at the back of this 3-car battle as Batten gets another penalty for track limit violations. Gonna have to watch that, of course. Remember, you have to serve those post-race. You cannot serve those during a pit stop. Not that there will be a pit stop in the sprint race. In the feature, there will be a mandatory stop. However, as now Gavboy and Batten are going to exchange positions. Not that this really matters, in all honesty. Batten with so many penalties. If Gavboy just keeps it between the white lines, well, he's going to be all safe pretty much. And will just keep it pointing in the right direction. As now more battling between Meldrum and BT there for 13th position. Meldrum gets past, but there's now Mr. Jabe trying to make a move on Sean there, and maybe a bit late on the brakes from the Prema car. And at the moment, keeps it all straightened out for now. MCL there with a 3-second trial limits penalty, and he will lose out to Dan Lovett. And well, Batten and Gavboy are certainly having a battle for 5th place, and not that Batten really should be fighting too hard. He should be focusing on trying to find where his best position would be. To be honest, they all have DRS, and there's going to be more swapping in the background there. I think Meldrum's had a bit of a moment because he's allowed BT back past. Oh, cuts off Sean there in the back, and he's going to have a good run on the car ahead. Is Sean, as he now, well, Meldrum to the inside line there, and Sean, well, going to use the outside line, but with the DRS, but he blocks up massively. Goodness me, and goes right off the track, and he's struggling to rejoin there as well. I think maybe brake bias as Finjo gets a 3-second penalty for track limit violations there. Your leader of the race, which has led every single lap up until this point, is how we see side-by-side through Baggett's and Baggett's between McKellar even, and Gavboy. They get through it cleanly. Great racing between the two. Goodness me, though, that was edge of your seat kind of racing in high-speed sections of the track. But now Gavboy is going to come back down here through the straight. He goes. Can he find any room? No, he was trying the outside line there for some reason. There would have been room on the inside if he'd have tried it, but evidently wants to stick behind this car for one reason or another. And just as we're talking about that now as well, we've got a battle here for 3rd place. It is Sab Gaming coming down the start for this straight, the Hamilton Straight, which of course bears the name of the 7-time world champion in Formula 1, but it is the lower racing tier that we are focusing on tonight, and boy, it is proving to be an exciting occasion as of right now, as Shaw gets a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. I wonder if that's the last we're going to see of the driver tonight. As of right now, though, we are looking at a very exciting top 4, well, technically top 3 battle, thanks to Finjo's 3-second penalty for track limit violations. But in the background here, McKellar and Gavboy there, of course, they were swapping for this very position earlier on. But now McKellar has begun checking out to the driver behind, and now is fighting with RJ Batten, though has a 6-second penalty post-race due to track limit violations. And it's very easy to do that round here, of course. So, as of right now, we are currently looking at the driver in front there. And, we go. Well, look at that driver behind in this pack. We're in the middle of this pack, if you want to count Gavboy as well. And then we have Daryl on the back of this as well. Daryl having a great comeback so far It's been a while since since I've last seen him race personally. Of course, took a very famous win as RJ Batten there, cutting the corner and gets a 10-second penalty for track limit violations there. Oh no, another 3 second it looked like, but I thought there was 10 seconds added on. But now McKellar says thank you very much. And well, RJ Batten's going to continue fighting that through the corner. Which line is going to work best for either of the drivers? They're going to still go side by side into the final complex of corners. Who's going to give that up? Well, it had to be McKellar in the end. Of course, McKellar losing time in this battle. There'll be, I think there's 5 laps to go as of right now. Yes, 5 laps to go. As of right now, it will be 4 to go at the line. Of course, McKellar needs to get this move done as soon as he possibly can, or else he can wave a 3rd win in a row. Goodbye as Dan Lovett gets a 3-second penalty for track limit violations, which means Chucky will benefit from all of this. What a name for a driver there. As that was, and Jokes now with a 3-second penalty for track limit violations. So that means Sab will improve up into 3rd as things stand right now, and Finn Joe could be fighting for 3rd place here now, thanks to that penalty. In fact, he is, with all the gaps as they are right now, and McKellar still unable to find a way through. RJ Batten in front, and Darrell is right on the back of Gavboy as well. This is the fight that we are looking at so far. The fight at the front has calmed down a little bit, but this one is really, really close. Here we go. Surely McKellar is only going to be a matter of moments away from making a move. Is he going to try it through here again? Oh my goodness me, we saw him and Gavboy go side by side through here, but not quite this time around. Not close enough to do so, not even alongside the car in front, might I add. But anyway, we'll continue on. He takes those sausages there as Ryan Brooks gets a 3-second penalty for track limit violations as well. DRS open for McKellar as finally the double winner from last week will finally make a move around the outside. That should not be lost as he goes through the corner, and yet now McKellar is looking at Sab Gaming in front, 1.6 seconds and 4 laps at the line to do it as Ryan Brooks gets past Connor Beattie there for 13th place in the background there, but of course that's about as high as he's probably going to go thanks to his post-race penalty for track limit violations. And now down the Hamilton straight, we are going to surely see another exhilarating lap of racing, and I think Anarchy not really trying to make a move here. He knows he's got the win as long as he stays where he is, thanks to obviously Finn Joe's 3-second penalty, but now Sab Gaming has got within Finn Joe's penalty window as well, so now Sab does have genuine stakes here. Can he probably make a move? Wait a minute, we've had a collision in the background. I think that's MCL and Dan Lovett getting involved with one another. Not quite sure what happened there. We just caught the aftermath of it. Brief yellow flag was brought out by race control, but now has been since rescinded as, my goodness me, Dan Lovett. I think that, no, that wasn't Dan Lovett, beg your pardon. That was MCL to the inside there. Rather aggressively, if I say so myself. And that was a very interesting move. That's even lost him his front wing end plate on the right-hand side here, as now we have Sab Gaming trying to catch the back of Wiz Jokes, because now I think he knows what the situation is, and he can see the winner of the race as of right now just in front of him. Has got a good run out of Maggots back in slash Church there, and now DRS opening, but that's also opening for Jokes, and he'll also have the slipstream, and also Anarchy also has the DRS. At least I think I saw a rear wing open there on that F2 car, but of course we'll just wait and see. And as of right now, down the inside through Club Corner, goodness me, McKellar gets the move done on Sam. McKellar got the move done there. He's caught right up to this start-finish line, lap 9 out of 11, and we have not got long to go at all. We've got several battles in the background as well. I don't know where to look, as how BT has retired in the pit lane, so that will not require any intervention from race control. And now we are going to start having a battle for what is second place, but of course if they start battling too hard, Finjo will be allowed to get away, and all of a sudden the positions out looking as bad as McKellar even to the inside. Beg your pardon to McKellar. There, of course, it's not pronounced Michaela, as he's up into second place there, through Brooklands, then through Loffield, and he's got that position all done and now can start chasing, and all of a sudden he is now on for 3 wins in a row in this league. What a feat that would be. Of course, that is between feature race and sprint as well. Michaela, clearly the guy to beat, as now we see Joe's go wide there through, I think it's Cops Corner. Oh, yes, that's Cop's Corner, and then the one after that, Stowe. This is Baggett and Beckett. So, but now Sap Gaming trying to get a good result out of this. He is now on the fringes of the podium. And, well, has got a good run there on Anarchy, who will, of course, lost DRS to McKellar in front. McKellar on simply insane pace, and already could be looking at DRS by the time we come out of Aintree. And Sap Gaming there to the inside, third place for the driver there, as we've had a yellow flag situation. That will, of course, briefly go away. And there we go. All said and done there. And there we go. Sap Gaming there is through on Anarchy. And now within 2.6 seconds, we'll at least get second place. But he'll be hoping for more. He'll be hoping that Finjo will fight McKellar for all it's worth. Because potentially there, if the league rules still allow it, he can actually just go through. He could actually just be given the win if it was accidental. But then there's been a bit of a mistake from Finjo there, and that was not really much of a fight at all, unless if Finjo has deliberately done that to try and get DRS. But he wasn't behind McKellar when it came to the detection point. So now Sap Gaming is surely going to have a run at second place here, as Anarchy trying to defend from Wiz there. But of course, Anarchy I hope he knows that he's got the driver behind him as a 3-second penalty there. So we'll see how he decides to defend that going forward there. And then I forgot Daryl here trying to fight for a couple of positions. Of course, he'll benefit from a couple once the post-race penalties are applied. He goes very wide there through Cop's Corner. And RJ Batten, of course, has a massive penalty to serve. It's 9 seconds. It's, oh my goodness me! RJ Batten has made a mistake going through Marion Beckett. I don't quite know what happened there. Looks like he just had some major understeer, and I think he got another penalty thanks to that. He did. 12 seconds now added on to his time. As now, we are seeing Anarchy heavily defend there, going onto the grass. Front left puncher for Anarchy there. And I wonder if that is related, and he's off! It's off! It's crashed! And I wonder, is that why we saw a mistake from Batten earlier on? Our tyres not going to the end. Are we going to have to see a last lap pit stop? Sap is going to the end. McKellar will not be comfortable in that car anymore, as RJ Batten gets a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. And I just think that might be due to the punches we've had there. Anarchy retired at the same corner Michael Schumacher did in the early 2000s in a very similar fashion as well. So that was a really dramatic crash. And that is just, and I wonder now if Sean will gain positions from those two retirements, of course, as Batten now into the pits, making his change for the last time. But goodness me, soft tyres weren't the way to go if you wanted to be safe. And it was McKellar thinking smart. He's got onto the hard tyres, look. And he was, he's now at the moment, battling with, that is Finjo there. Of course, 3-second penalty coming his way. Doesn't need to make the overtake. And now definitely doesn't need to make the overtake. He can just sit behind him. As now McKellar is only 3 or 4 corners away from getting his third win in a row. At the moment, undefeated in the sprint race. And now he is going to be going to the line as a winner. Is Sap Gaming going to try and make a move? He doesn't really need to, but he's going to get it done on track. But now Daryl is also going to have a go down the inside up into 4th place, which will become 3rd. But now we look to McKellar, as now he is coming to the line. Finjo fought back in the background, but now McKellar undefeated in terms of wins in this league for the F2 season. He wins the sprint in Silverstone. Finjo comes to the line, but with a 6-second penalty, Sap will take 2nd, and now Daryl takes 3rd as well. Gavboy takes 4th. Finjo has to settle for 5th place, as Nova Piper will be next, but then drops down. BFR Chocky down up to 6th there. Great recovery drive from him there. Dan Lovett 8th, Nova Piper 9th, Ryan Brooks 10th, and MCL 11th. Mr. J comes home in 12th there. Meldrum will come home 13th, with RJ Batten will lose out a position to Sean there. Of course, Sean taking a pit stop in the middle of that race, and Meldrum with a 3-second penalty for track limit violations. Don't think that's going to affect anything too badly, but RJ Batten now going to come home in 14th, and now Sean is going to go to the pit lane to try and beat him. Let's see if that works. Don't think it will. It will not. RJ Batten gets a 10-second... Well, no, RJ Batten gets a 10-second time penalty. Does Sean get the position? Yes, he does. He has done the Jarno Opmeer tactic of going into the pit lane and gets the position away from his teammate. Oh, goodness me. That was very cheeky, but very funny all the same. Thank you very much for that, Sean. As there you go, Michaela, with the horse-trotting pose, for lack of a better word, is on the top step in the sprint and on the top step for the third time in a row. What a drive he has put together in the first couple of races and in the first 3 races as well. That has really been a great run of form from the driver there as well. It's looking like a bit hard to beat. Sab there tried to put on some pressure, but in the end, Michaela on those hard tyres looked like that was the way to go rather than the softs. Of course, a couple of drivers getting a puncture and Arky suffering a DNF from that. But anyway, there we go. Michaela, Sab, Daryl round out your top 3. Great return drive from Daryl there in the AIX racing car. Then it's Gavboy and Finjo rounding out your top 5. Finjo not losing too many positions from the front there as BFR Chucky gets 6th. Then Dan Lovett, Wiz, Nova and Ryan round out your top 10. Then it's MCL, Mr. Jabe, Meljum, Short and Batten rounding out your top 15. Anarchy and Connor Beatty, I think, were your only non-finishers. Yes, they were non-finishers in the sprint. Alrighty. Well, that was an interesting little race there. So, we are now going to have 19 laps of extra action here. As now, we are going to be going away for a bit. Anyway, I don't think we'll be really hanging around too long because I think we're just pretty much going to get straight into the action. So I am just going to try and find the notes I've made on Silverstone before. But what really impressed me there was Michaela's driving. You can tell why he is a championship leader there. I mean, just kind of cutting through those positions. It was technically like a hot knife through butter there. He just didn't look like he could be stopped. And, well, he just went all the way to the top, and I can see why. He is a 3 in a row race winner now after that sprint race, and surely now we'll be looking to make it 4 in a row. Double wins there. And of course, remember, there is no sort of ballast penalty for winning in Formula 2 either, like there is in other motorsport categories. But what an impressive drive. Michaela just being best of the rest there. And of course, he was on the hard tyre, and those are, of course, a safe bet. And the fact that he could make those work throughout the rest of the race was insane stuff there. So let's see what we do here. Now let's see. I want to kind of see what's been said. Anarchy there, yeah, with a puncture. Lost P2 and of course didn't end up finishing the race there. He was not very happy. And Daryl saying, considering it's my first time playing this game today with 0 practice in an F2 car, he'll take P3. Vamos. Danny Anderson saying to Anarchy that it shouldn't have had the puncture. Yeah, so Anarchy, yeah, no, my puncher could not turn right, so Wiz thought he did something, but he definitely did not. Let's see, and of course, Jokes and Anarchy just exchanging a few words, how they almost merged each other so many times, but Jokes, Wiz just saying there, we just had some good fun, don't worry. Let's see, but yeah, no, not much said around that, but of course, just to give you a bit of background on the Silverstone circuit, it is a track consisting of 18 turns at a length of 3.6 miles, opened in 1948 after, apparently, according to the story that I have read up on, it was someone who lived near what was an abandoned RAF field, which of course it was, and then he called up his friends, who apparently were all motor racing fanatics at the time. Oh, how convenient that is. And then, of course, since they gathered and went racing in 1948, we have seen all sorts of racing around what we call the home of British motorsport. 10 changes to the circuit have been made with the old layout using Abbey, which is the first turn, as a left-hand turn to form the straight through to under the Foster's Bridge there. And of course, this is not the original start-finish line placement. If you remember, on the exit of Luffield going into Woodcote, That was the old start-finish straight, and that's where the cars used to start from. But now, Woodcote had the start-finish straight, as I already said, and then they removed this from 2010, and then in 2011 they moved it to where it has been since, just before Abbey Road. Of course, that straight on the start-finish was, of course, renamed to the Hamilton Straight. But now for the feature, we have 3, 4, 5 red lights. Take 2 in Silverstone, and that is a good start there by Dan Lovett, of course, taking pole in the one-shot sprint qualifying. And now look at this, all sorts of side-by-side action, 2 wide there into Abbey, as Sab Gaming has to keep settling for 4th place, but then Anarchy gets the run, and they're going to go side-by-side into the... Oh my goodness me! What was that? That's Finjo barrels himself down into Village, I think that was, and finds, well, a spun round. That was Anarchy. Oh, we were just talking about, we had a run on Sab there, but all goes away. As now there's a polystyrene board going flying 2 or 3 wide, as there's somebody who's missed the brakes. Who's that? Was that Ryan there? No, it was not. Who was that? Was that Meldrum? It was Meldrum going right there. Goodness me, there's now more action on the exit going into Woodcote. Goodness me, we're lap 1 and it's been wreckfest so far. Goodness me. And now side by side going into comps. We know how this ended in a side F1 race. But luckily no such trauma here. And now they're still side by side going into Baggins and well, Connor is missing a front wing end plate. That won't be helping any. As now Ryan Brooks is just trying to find some sort of error, some sort of room there, but he's made a mistake. He's spun round on the exit of the corner. Brief yellow flag is out, as now Sab is going to have a go at 3rd place down the inside into Stowe, but can't make it work. Doesn't have the optimal line there. Usually around the outside can work if you have the tyres and the grip, and it has worked out for MCL so far. But Dan Lovett has just gotten away from all of this, as Daryl there is, I think, has lost a position there. No, in fact, that's Daryl there, so he's had some sort of moment, but is facing the right way. DRS is now enabled, and Sab hasn't found a way through, as now 2nd place of Mikella is being caught in the front there. In fact, there he is at the front of your frame there, but Dan Lovett leading the way by 2.5 seconds. It didn't take us long to get back underway, but oh my goodness me! Sab Gaming spins around MCL, goes off the track, but he's going to not only lose out, I mean, at that point, just continue on, I would say, because now he's lost out so many positions. He is now down to, where is it? 7th place there. He just got back underway. He saw what was going on and thought, oh, goodness me, I'm so sorry, but I'm just going to have to go anyway. As MCL now makes a move for what was going to be a podium finish is now going to be a fight for the lower end of the points. And there's contact again with MCL. And there's carbon fiber going flying as somebody runs over it and it goes onto the gravel. But surely MCL with in only 2 corners gets more contact. Then a destruction derby, and now is facing the back of the field and a damaged front wing to boot as well. Chaos erupting in Silverstone in the F1 division, and now Finjo has also just made a move and has a 3-second penalty for track limit violations now, as now Connor is trying to hold off Sab here, and of course Connor has DRS in tow as well. And here we go. We are starting to see. Oh, God, I don't think got the best exit there, but going into Club, that's all said and done. As Dan Lovett gets the fastest up of the race, he has no idea what's happened behind him, may I just say. As now, what has happened to Daryl? Did Daryl not come back in time? Has he been disconnected or something? That's very suspicious, but now here we go. Battle for 8th place here as Ryan Brooks. What's happened to him here? He looks like he's had a bit of a moment on the exit of Club there, but he's going into Abbey side by side with Sean here. Of course, Sean didn't have the best of races there, but a bit of a slide there going into Village, and now can he get it done through loop? No, Ryan Brooks says, oh my goodness me, another spin. There is Sean now as MCL retires from the race in the pit lane, so no intervention from race control required, and that is going to be the end of his race, and not really been the best of days for the driver, so he will just have to park up and call it a night and then come back next week. Here we go now, down the old start-finish straight we go into Cop's corner. RJ Batten, who got a 12-second post-race penalty for track limit violations, is now trying to just not get out of it, as Connor in the background there has just got a 3-second penalty for track limit violations himself, and that was just going through Stowe, so I imagine he understeered on the exit, and unfortunately there, as he was beyond the white lines, did not, well, the game didn't take very kindly to that, evidently used up all his warnings, and, well, had nothing else to lose. 4th place at the moment is RJ Batten here. This is the battle we are observing. Dan Lovett is just so far down the road, 3.5 seconds. It looks like he's going to be putting a stop to the wins here as Anarchy loses a position to Ryan Brooks there. Looks like Ryan Brooks did that on DRS alone and then found the position there as now Connor is that? Yeah, Connor into the pits there. So he's going for a pit stop. Let's just go have a look at the tyres. He's coming off hard tyres. Now, of course, remember, it's going to be 12 lap on the softs, and we saw punctures towards the end of lap 10, so evidently Connor, with a bit of confidence here, can try and make this work. He's going to try and give that a go as RJ Batten now up into 3rd, as Gavboy now losing out to that position, but he'll have DRS on the end. No, he will not, beg your pardon. As now Sean there as well in the background, of course, benefiting from Connor's pit stop, but of course, with the undercut being powerful around here, it is a very, very slow pit lane. But you don't want to be doing that on the pit exit, that's for sure. No, you want to kind of try and keep the car under control. And then try and build up the temperature naturally. Of course, drifting through village goes the ART car. Gaffboy still trying to hold on to the DRS of RJ Batten, but RJ Batten looks to be getting away. So we're going to look at Anarchy and Ryan Brooks trying to fight one another. No safety car yet has been deployed, although there would have been more of a justifiable reason. The only DNF we've really had is MCL, of course, had so much damage, had contact twice in a few corners, and unfortunately for him, just could not really find a way back. He will have had a lot of damage from that, but here we go. I just want to cut to the battle briefly for 15th place, although it's not really for anything major. It is still one of the closer battles on track, but here we go. Chucky goes very wide there, and now he's going to allow Meldrum some room here. There's been a swap between Daryl and Connor there for 13th. Connor now up into that position, but then Meldrum with the better exit gets the move for 15th done, but Meldrum won't have the optimal line there going into Cops. He might be vulnerable to Chucky as he goes through, but looks like Chucky just gave up the ghost there and allowed the Scottish driver through. So now that is, of course, the creator of this division, actually, as well. Currently, now up into 50th. He's trying to recover there. What has been a very rough start for him. Ryan Brooks as well, trying to check out from Anarchy, and actually has over a second, but I don't think he would have made it onto the DRS activation. Yeah, in fact, Anarchy behind does have DRS still, but of course, it's only going to really take Ryan a couple of more corners. He's very quick in his own right, of course, commentated over him in SRL and another league, yeah, very quick in his own right, at least in Formula 1 cars, but in F2 looks like he's been a bit humbled. 2.7 seconds now to Sab Gaming in front. Of course, Sab Gaming YouTube, that does stand for the YT, at least I do believe so as of right now. But here there's a battle for 10th actually hotting up as well. Let's cut to that for just a few moments. Finn, Joe and Mr. Jabe there going side by side into Cops, and luckily both coming out of it unscathed, but Finn Joe on the comeback there got a better line through the corner. Well, gets 10th place back. Of course, Finn Joe serving a post-race penalty for track violations. But here we go, a swap for 4th here as Nova Piper makes a move on Gavboy there, losing another position. Of course, was fighting with Michela earlier on, as Michela is still struggling to get that gap down to Dan in front there, but it's at under 3 seconds now, so evidently something is starting to happen. Of course, Michela is on those hard tyres, but will need to make a mandatory pit stop, I do believe. So, of course, Dan will, of course, probably make his earlier on, and is going to try for the undercut, but, of course, that gives Michela the strength of the strategy. So, just to kind of give you an idea, Michela on all hard tyres, Dan Lovett on soft, so that means, well, yes, Dan Lovett will have the undercut, Michela will have the fresher tyres and the softer tyres at the end of the race, so that means he can literally just go hell for leather, and he might actually be in a better position to win, and Dan Lovett just hasn't quite got that gap to a comfortable position enough for when he comes in for his pit stop, so don't forget that as well. So Belgium there gets a 3-second penalty as well for track limit violations. Where are those two on the track? Let's have a look. Yeah, they're just going through club right now. Looks like Meldrum just went off the track somewhere and, well, has given up 14th yet again. So these two fighting hell for leather as well. Daryl there has also really not had a good race from P3 in the sprint. Of course, I don't think his car is actually being controlled by him. No, it is not. You can see it being ghosted, so something is clearly wrong there. I don't know if he's actually... I don't think he's actually in any control there. Now, I wonder if Gavboy and Nova Piper could actually work together to swap DRS and try and catch up, although I don't think these cars are fast enough for that. To benefit from that, of course, in the Formula 1, you're used to seeing, like, as now, Dan Lovett is into the pit lane. So that means Michaela will, of course, inherit the lead by default, but that seems very early from Dan Lovett, if I'm being honest. That does mean 9 lap on the hard tyres, though, as our Gavboy does the same. Does anybody else follow suit there? So Sab will go through into 4th place for the time being. And I do believe it's going to be a top 3 hard tyres, as Sab Gaming does indeed. The only one on soft tyres at the moment in the top 10 at all. So he's currently flying the flag for those red-walled tyres. But at the moment, he's got pressure because Ryan Brooks might be coming at him in a cup. Well, might be coming at him before his pit stop, although Sab Gaming can't be too far away from making his first and only stop. He'll go on to the hard tyres towards the end of the session, but will be vulnerable to everybody else behind us. Connor gets another 3-second penalty for track limit violations there. Of course, you have to serve that post-race, no choice in that matter. But of course, what we're going to be keeping an eye on is Dan Lovett. What's his pace going to be like? He currently holds the fastest lap of the race, I do believe, indeed, with a 1:40.770. But of course, he was on soft tyres in his first stint, so not necessarily a comparison there. But Dan Lovett now, we're going to have to keep an eye on him. Of course, came in as the leader of the race, but then Michaela, once he comes in for his stop and goes onto the softer tyre, where is he going to be in the grand scheme of things in this 15-lap race, which we've had 7 laps of so far? One of the closer battles out on track here. Well, that's actually Dan Lovett and Mr. Jabe here. Mr. Jabe under pressure, of course, hasn't yet made his pit stop and looks to be missing a front wing end plate on the left-hand side of his car. That is the Prema car, and yeah, definitely missing. So he's got aerodynamic disadvantage here as Daryl there being overtaken by Meldrum. Of course, Daryl not in control of the car as Ryan Brooks overtakes Sab there, but only because he's in for a pit stop. As now Dan round the outside in Stowe corner gets the move done, and that's what fresher tyres do for you. And then that is Mr. Jabe there, not really going to mess around. He's straight into the pit lane, and he will now continue on as Mr. Jabe gets a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane with the 1 stop in effect here. That will mean he will be serving that post-race. I don't see, unless if a safety car is to come out very late, I don't see him serving that in another pit stop. He doesn't need to make a second one with the length of the race to go, as Gavboy gets a 3-second penalty for track limit violations. Chalky now is just catching up to the guys who have made their pit stops, but I don't think he'll be overtaking any of them. Wiz and Mr. Jabe already on the exit of the pit lane, and in fact, yeah, no, they are now fully underway. They are just going through Abbey right now and approaching Village as we speak. But Chalky and Meldrum having a bit of a battle here. Of course, Meldrum has a post-race penalty of 3 seconds here. As now Meldrum is wide there. Oh, goodness me. What tyres is he on? He is on 6-lap old softs. And hasn't he made a pit stop? Yeah, he's made a pit stop. So he's taken his sprint race tyres by accident. I don't know if he's realised it just yet. We're in a quiet period of the race just as we are waiting for strategies to complete. But I don't think Meldrum has realised he's taken his sprint race tyres, and that means he'll be vulnerable as Nova Piper, both RJ, Batten and Nova both get 10-second penalties for speeding in the pit lane there. That is not good news bears for them, as now, well, Connor gets past Daryl there, but I don't think Daryl is in any control of the car. I think he's lost internet connection as Finjo now gets a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. 3 drivers in a row, and all of them have had 10-second penalties for speeding, and they'll have to serve that post-race, I'm sure. That's starting to happen to a lot of drivers now. I wonder if there's a glitch in the pit lane. As now Meldrum gets another penalty for track limit violations there, so that's his total up to 6 seconds, and Jockey has checked out from him. Jockey, I should say. But at the moment, we are waiting as Dan Lovett has made his way up into 4th place there. It's about 28 seconds separating him from the leader of the race. In fact, we can tell you exactly in just a few moments' time. Yeah, 28.2 seconds as now Connor gets a 10-second penalty for corner cutting there. I wonder what's going on with him. As, yeah, no, he has realised what's going on as, yeah, Meldrum into the pits yet again. And is that finally a fresh set of softs? It indeed is. Meldrum now coming out of the pit box. And he will continue on in a rather miserable 15th place there. Not being a good outing for what is... I think that's the... No, I can't remember what that one is. Sorry about that. Can't remember what that car is. But anyway, continuing on, that is... we are looking at Sean here. But in fact, Sab Gaming has caught up to Gavboy at the back. But of course, Gavboy is got a 3-second penalty coming his way post-race. And at the moment, he is currently waiting for the DRS zone. But here we go. Ryan Brooks into the pit lane. Dan will easily get past him. But now DRS open for Sab. He's going to look round the outside and going into Stowe. Can he get the move done? Not quite. But he's going to try the cutback through there. That is very brave stuff from the American driver. And now through to Club. Can he get the move done? No, has to sit back for now. But he's going to certainly try again. He's got the momentum on Gavboy, that is for sure. Ryan Brooks and Sean both coming in to serve their mandatory stops on lap 10 out of 15. So 6 laps to go. And now we are just waiting and waiting for McKellar to make his mandatory pit stop. And there's Ryan Brooks there, coming involved in all of this. And he is ahead of the Invictus Racing car there of Sab Gaming. As now Ryan Brooks is trying to make a move on Gavboy. Very optimistic there as we now go through Aintree. Can he get the move done? DRS will open for the car there. And I think he's got it. Yeah, he's got it done. But, of course, it will be Gavboy fighting this back. But I don't know if there's any point. Soft versus hard. You're losing that battle 110 times out of 10. But there you go. That's all said and done now. Gavboy's struggling to keep up with Ryan. And now he will be released. It's 9 seconds. Well, just under 10 seconds to the car in front. But now Sab surely will have a run at Gavboy, but not quite close enough to take it going into Cops. As now, well, look at this. McKellar into the pits for his mandatory stop. And now all eyes turn to Dan Lovett, who has got AJ Batten in company behind. Anarchy also going into the pit lane. Has Dan done enough to stay ahead of McKellar? We're going to look at the pit stop here. It looks smooth to me. It's soft tyres, of course, for McKellar all the way to the end. And I think Dan Lovett will have just done enough. He is McKellar only just exiting his pit box as RJ Batten gets the fastest lap of the race. And there you go. There's the difference between softs to hards there. And Dan Lovett takes the lead of the F2 Grand Prix. But now RJ Batten will be a doorstop between the two. McKellar has got to fight one car on track. Although, will he need to? Because well, Dan is right there, and Batten does have DRS. Mr. Jabe with a 3-second penalty for child limit violations, and Arky as well. Also, with a penalty there for speeding in the... No penalty for Arky, I don't believe. As now Sab Gaming finally finds a way past Gavboy, but Ryan Brooks has checked out from that by 2.2 seconds, and isn't actually catching over Piper either. 10.1 seconds. Ryan Brooks there always says he's usually happy with a podium, but this time around, not so fortunate. As now McKellar, look at this, we have what would be a top 3 battle if RJ Batten didn't have a 3-second penalty. They both go wide there. Dirty Air being a heavy impact with these cars cornering grip. As now through Baggett's and Beckett's, all 3 of these drivers go. And we are currently now coming to the end of the F2 race here in Silverstone. What an evening it has been, and it is not over yet. We've even got Nova Piper going to try and fight what it will be eventually RJ Batten for 3rd place here, but Dan Lovett is proving to be a cork in this rather big bottle of, well, it might get a little bit larger as now McKellar down the inside of RJ Batten, but nowhere to go, so he's gonna have to try to get through the final corner. But RJ Batten says, you got nowhere to go, my friend. You're staying behind me for another lap. 4 to go, and all of a sudden now it's gonna be a battle between McKellar and Dan. But of course RJ Batten has a currently the doorstop between these two, as we've said already. But there we go. Look at how late on the brakes Batten could go. But he will have taken the unoptimal line there, and now will be vulnerable to McKellar, I am sure, as we go on board with the VAR card. He goes to the inside into Brooklands. Can he do anything with it? As now Batten goes very wide indeed. Sab Gaming with a penalty, but it is McKellar up into second, and now Dan Lovett's gonna be in a bit of frustration here because, oh, look at McKellar. He's got such a run through Woodcote, and surely into Stone. Now he's gonna try it. No, he holds back. Slots in behind for now, and well, with that dirty air, he's got to keep it within the white lines. But at the moment now, McKellar trying to get his 4th race win in a row. If you look at the feature and the sprint race, but Dan Lovett holding on for his 1st race win in this F2 division. Only 2 rounds of it, but look at the run McKellar has, and that is surely going to be all said and done. McKellar takes the lead of the Silverstone F2 Grand Prix, and that is all said and done there, as Dan Lovett goes very wide there, trying to hold on. The dirty air there will, of course, not be doing him any favours. Bit of contact between him and Batten. Of course, Batten not really finding a position here as Dan Lovett lumps it over the curb, and oh goodness me, Batten pushes Dan through the corner there as he's starting to lose grip, and now all of a sudden Batten to the inside gets the move done for second, but of course, is he going to stay there is another question altogether. Caution in sector 1 for a spun round car. I think that's Connor there, and indeed is, so he will continue on as normal. As an Archie and Gaffboy side by side through the final corner, and Archie had the inside line there going through Club, so that means Sir Abbey, he's got that all said and done and slots in front of Gaffboy there. So nice move there from the Prema Racing car. As now Dan Lovett under pressure from Nova Piper now, who's of course fighting with RJ Batten for 3rd place. What it will be if Dan can stay within the 3-second window of both. Let's look at how forceful sorry, that is Nova Piper, is being just trying to find a gap where he can find one, and I do believe why we're seeing the yellow flags now is because Connor is just allowing the drivers through and not really fighting anything too hard, even though he is ghosted. As Nova Piper there very wide through Klopp's corner. Dan Lovett just really trying to stay within, as RJ Batten gets another 3-second penalty for track limit violations there. So that battle, which could have been dramatic, is now rather subdued, unless if Nova gets another 3-second penalty, which is what everybody will be hoping for. If you're a neutral, that is. But McKellar, it doesn't matter if he gets a 3-second penalty. He's checked out from this battle with the insane pace he is showing. Goodness me, McKellar, what a drive he has put together. And, well, there we go. Nova Piper was trying to go down the inside of Club there, but sadly did not. Couldn't quite get alongside enough, as McKellar now with the 139.1. Just for a comparison, Dan did a 140.8, but now that no longer matters. It's all been wiped away. And he is now looking at, well, he's looking at the front of Nova Piper in front, but at the back of RJ Batten now, for Dan's sake, RJ Batten has a 3-second penalty for track limit violations, as now we have another retirement in the pit lane of Connor there, of course, sped in the pit lane because he was absolutely finished with this race, not having a good time, and then getting lapped, so decides to call it a day. Darryl there in the back, I don't know what's happened to him, as Nova Piper makes a move down the inside into Brooklands, but of course Dan is still there. Don't want to really fight this too hard. Bit of wheel banging between the two, and Dan holds on to 3rd there. As now, there we go, that is Nova going very wide there, using all of Lovefield there and more, but now here we go. The Invictus car is starting to be caught, but no look through there. At the moment, this is the closest battle on track, but let's have a look at your biggest winners and losers so far. Well, shout out to Nova Piper here, as long as Ryan Brooks doesn't get within that 3-second window. A 12th place improvement. Of course, RJ Batten's 11th place improvement will come to potentially about, I would say, 9 place improvement. So Nova Piper should have a 13 place improvement once this is all over, as Wiz there with a 3-second penalty for track limit violations. That brings his total, well, it's only 3 seconds to be fair, so he won't actually suffer from that too badly, as Mr. J behind has a 13-second penalty, and with BFR Chucky there without a penalty, not close enough to really benefit from that. Needs to find at least 4 seconds, and we're already on the final lap of the race. What an F2 round this has been. Round 2 in Silverstone has been a real entertainment. At the moment, it is currently going to be a last-up battle, well, between Nova Piper and Dan Lovett, but it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. With Rajay Batten with a 6-second penalty in front, there's really nothing to fight for here. It really is just for show. In the background, though, there is a battle as well for 11th happening, but that is, of course, going to be won by Chucky with the fact he's got no penalties to his name. Oh, but no, he's disqualified for failing to use the retire. Never mind then. Chucky is disqualified for not using the tyre compounds required going into the final lap. And that is the end of his race. Disqualification for the F2 driver. And goodness me, that is not what he would have wanted. That is a blunder from his team as well. So they will have some questions to answer post-race. But at the moment now, you are looking at McKellar. A win in the sprint this week and last week. A win in the feature last week as well. And this week, he only has Club Corner to go. And he will be the winner for the 4th time in a row. McKellar wins again in Silverstone, and he is top of the leaderboard for a reason. Dan Lovett will eventually take second place, with Nova Piper coming in 3rd, or so I thought. As he, unserved penalty for Nova Piper. My apologies. Of course, he's sped in the pit lane. So that actually means there could be a couple of relegations. In fact, Ryan Brooks as well. Now 3rd place. He will be happy with that. I know that for free. As now 6th is Anarchy. Seb Gaming in 7th. Gavboy in 8th. And 9th. Finjo in 9th. My bad there. I was a bit behind there with Ryan Brooks and Nova Piper. So both of them losing their penalties. So both of them losing their positions. As there you go. Now Finjo with an unserved 10-second penalty. As Sean there is on the exit and holds on, but I don't know if he had who had the major penalty to serve. Sean in 11th. Let's keep an eye on this. Now, I do believe we will go for some post-race interviews if possible, but let's watch the podium celebrations. And there you go. That is McKellar for the 4th time in a row this season in the F2 on the top step. But I can't say that was boring. There was a lot of action happening up and down the field, and it certainly kept us entertained throughout. It's a shame about the track limit penalties, of course, but it is currently well, that's what you have to deal with in this game. The F2 cars having a lot more understeer. You can't just pray. You can't just put the aerodynamics on a prayer and a wish. You have really got to take care. So let's have a look at your unofficial results coming out of the feature race in Silverstone. It's McKellar in 1st, Dan Lovett 2nd, Sab Gaming in... No, that's not correct at all. Let's have a look at the race director. There we go. That's better. So your top 5 is McKellar, Dan, Ryan, Batten, and Nova, with 6th to 10th being Anarchy, Sab, Gavboy, Joe, Wiz, and Finjo. Then from 11th to 15th, there's Sean, Mr. J, Daryl, Maljump, Gunner, and with your non-finishers being MCL, BFR, Chucky. There you go. Had to run through that very, very quickly indeed, but there we go. Let's see if we can... Can we have post-race interviews? I don't know. I'm not sure. Haven't been filled in. So Daryl did indeed get disconnected for one reason or another. So I think that's going to be it, chat. Because I don't think we're going to have any post-race interviews. And I think that might be the end of the broadcast. So we'll just wait and see if we have any. But I don't think we will. A lot of the drivers are currently gathered up in general. But none of the podiums... Well, only Ryan Brooks there and Dan Lovett as well. But I don't see McKellar anywhere, to be honest with you. So we'll see how that goes, but yeah. I think that is going to be the end of the broadcast. So anyway, let's kind of round that up. So Ryan Brooks finally getting a podium, back to his old ways, happy with a podium. Dan Lovett also getting a podium, of course, just kind of give you an idea of where things were last week in the feature. Dan Lovett have got second place there, so actually kind of finished where he began yet again and qualified in fourth place. In the sprint, though, just to kind of let you know about that, where was Dan there? He did not finish that sprint, so a brilliant evening for Dan Lovett as well. And then for Ryan, well, he was having to be humbled there, 11th place in the feature and then 10th in the sprint. But as Daryl has posted a really funny gif there, saying brakes, as no, we saw someone go flying into the back of, I think it was Sean as well, who was, no, it was Anarchy, who was actually battling with Sab Gaming YT, and just went into the back. I can't remember whose brakes failed exactly, but Michaela saying GG's everyone as well. But I think, that is going to be all. But Michaela taking 4 race wins in a row on the feature and the sprint. This has been your F2 division for the evening. We will see you next week, hopefully in Barcelona. That'll be, of course, another sprint as well. I think I'll just remove that graphic in future because that is all of them are sprint races. So, wherever you may be in the world, everybody from NRRL, also known as Nitro Realistic Racing League, we all wish you a very good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. Stay safe, stay alive. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.